Hello, and welcome to episode 56 of TBR, the To Be Read podcast, where we talk about the books we love and the topics that interest us. I'm Patrick Stemp, and with me as always are Michael Ronn and Jamie Maltman. How are you guys doing?
Great, Patrick. How are you today?
Good. And we have a special guest with us tonight, Andy Weir, author of The Martian. And thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks.
And so for anybody who's listened to the show for any length of time knows that I'm a huge fan of The Martian. So congratulations there on the amazing success you've had with that book.
Thank you. It's been a wild ride.
I imagine. And also just recently read The Egg, which kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Well, good. That was the goal.
It's a thinker. So we will start with our normal sort of weekly roundtable and just talk a little bit about what we've been reading recently, and then we're going to spend some time learning a little bit more about some of Andy's influences and the things he likes to read. So is there anything you're reading right now, Andy, that you'd like to talk about?
I don't get to read very much because I just, which is sad, but mostly I've been really swamped lately with the increased interest in the novel and interviews and the movie marketing thing. However, I just received today, because you recommended it, Max Berry's Lexicon.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And so, I mean, I have read literally 2 pages of it. So, I mean, I like the 2 pages I've read so far, but I mean, I received it like an hour ago. And
okay, that's cool.
I didn't spend all the intervening time reading those 2 pages. I glanced at it and then I had to go do something else. But yeah, it looks interesting. I'm looking forward to reading it.
So they've got you running around doing all kinds of stuff. I think we saw you on the self-publishing podcast. We're all fans of that. And I think I also heard you on James Altucher. You were on his podcast.
Yeah.
That was good as well.
Oh, another thing, sorry. Just a book I read not too long ago was the new Ernest Cline novel, Armada.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I'd recommend that. I think it comes out next month, maybe this month. Comes out.
And that's Ready Player One, right? That was.
Yeah, Ernest Cline wrote Ready Player One, and this is his second book, Armada.
Yeah, that was a fantastic book.
Yes, it was. I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, and actually the other Max Berry book, Jennifer Government, is interesting as well.
I remember that when it came out. I didn't read it at the time, but I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, I actually hadn't really heard too much about Lexicon. That was actually Hugh Howey's sort of top recommendation from like 2013, I guess.
Okay.
So I picked that up. I highly recommend that one. I hope he writes more. He really doesn't have a whole lot out there.
Yeah, more than me.
Speaking of which, you do have something on the way, don't you?
Yeah, my next book is tentatively titled Zhek, Z-H-E-K, and it's a more soft science fiction, not the rigidly technically accurate stuff like The Martian. It's got aliens and faster than light travel and stuff like that.
Cool. Is there sort of a tentative date on that, like 2016? Or?
Yeah, mid-2016 probably.
Cool. Awesome. So we'll finish off our round table. Jamie, what have you been reading over the last week?
Well, speaking of Hugh Howey, one of his recommendations actually recently was this one that I just picked up from the library there, The New Wild by Fred Pierce. So Why Invasive Species Will Be Nature's Salvation. And it's a really cool book. There were 2 that he recommended in the same blog post, and I'd started reading the other one, and then I got a copy of this one in my hands, and I'm enjoying this one even more. So it's really neat. It challenges a lot of, because conventional wisdom is invasive species come in, destroy the environment, or kill off the locals, or push out the locals, or do all these sorts of things. But it's a lot more complicated than that, and there's a lot of cases where they've been blamed for things that they weren't, or they're a lot hardier, and they may be even reclaiming places from the damage that we've done, and it's a really, really interesting book, and I'm loving it. I'm, I think, about halfway through now, and yeah, it's a neat one, especially because it's talking about North America, because we are a continent of immigrants, and not just us as the humans, but the creatures are as well in many cases. Like they were talking about, like California, there might have been 300 species that have died out because of things, the extinctions, and more than 1,000 or 1,500, or I don't know, might even be off by a like order of magnitude. New species have come in from around the world over time and in different ways, and accidentally or on purpose. And he charts the history of that. It's really neat.
Reminds me of a cool little thing I learned a few years ago, is that like the iconic plant of the Old West, tumbleweeds, are not native to North America. They're Russian thistle.
Russian thistle. That's a good example.
So, like, 500 years ago, there were no tumbleweeds in
Kentucky bluegrass. Kentucky bluegrass is actually an old grass from Europe as well. So
European bluegrass then.
So yeah, but there's a lot of those, and it's really interesting too how sometimes people are ardently trying to protect the honeybees of the United States, which are
not
European honeybee.
Well, I think that's more practical, right? Because it's like
absolutely.
We also, I'm not sure exactly where orange trees are native to, but we don't really care where they're native to. We want to make sure that we have orange trees.
Absolutely. No, so it's really interesting seeing it, and there have been cases where particular economic interests have cast a particular species in a bad light for their purposes and stuff like that. So it's really neat. He's actually like an award-winning environmental journalist, or a sort of ecological journalist from Britain, and just fascinating stuff, but really, really cool style. And I actually promoted it. I don't normally read nonfiction before bed, but it's got such a neat story style to it that it works for that. So enjoying that a lot. And just that's been my main one. I've been continuing one of the advanced read copy. I've been reading of the fantasy novel. Not quite done that, so I'll talk about that more next week. And continuing to do more graphic novels with my son. So that's been fun too. So
cool.
That's my week in reading. And happy Canada Day for all of us Canadians.
Hey, happy Canada Day.
Hey, Canada.
Oh, Michael, what about you?
Yeah, I read quite a few books this week, but there's one I wanted to mention because I read it, and it'll probably be, when we get to the end of the year, probably on that list of best books I read, and that is Future Crimes by Mark Goodman. I don't know if any of you guys have read that, but it's basically he's an ex-law enforcement, and he focuses on cybercrime, and so he talks about the crimes of the future and the things that criminals are doing today, like identity theft and the dark web and the deep web, and basically talking about the crimes that are coming. So how criminals can use the technology that we're experiencing today and in the future to basically hack us and take us for all we've got. And a lot of it, when I read it, it was kind of scary a little bit, because he talks about things that have happened in the news in the last couple of years that I kind of glossed over on CNN or on the news channels and didn't really think about, but how they have really crazy implications. He talks about a guy in the opening chapter that he basically got all of his stuff got hacked. He deleted all of his data, all this stuff, and the hacker did it just to get his Twitter handle, right? Oh. So just stuff like that. It's really interesting. I would recommend it. It kind of reminds me of The Physics of the Future that I read by Michio Kaku, which was one of my favorite books last year. It's definitely very forward-thinking, and he offers some things that suggestions that we can use to stay safe ourselves. Just really simple things that a lot of people don't think about. And he has some not so nice things to say about Google and Facebook too, which kind of made me think, really think about the future and data and all these things that we're sharing and what the consequences are for that down the road. So
now, was he a criminal himself at any point?
No. No,
okay.
He's pure law enforcement, and he's worked all over the world, capturing criminals.
Pure law enforcement.
Yeah, pure law enforcement.
Distilled, concentrated law enforcement.
Yeah.
He's Judge Dredd.
He's definitely. You can tell he's definitely law enforcement. He's very to the point. And
that was a really funny one that you mentioned that, Andy, because the third one down when you search Future Crimes on Goodreads is Judge Dredd Future Crime.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I didn't realize that. Awesome.
What a cool crossover.
Did you guys see the Carl Urban film, Dredd?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Right?
It's really good. The Stallone film back in the 90s stank, but the Carl Urban one, good old-fashioned shoot-'em-up action movie, just doesn't try to be deep, doesn't try to teach anything. It's like, here's a dude in a dystopian future that shoots people.
Yeah.
Have a nice
bad
day.
guys. Yeah.
Just like, what is it, Mad Max Fury Road. It's like, here's a post-apocalyptic future that involves a really long car chase with people killing each other. We're not going to do anything other than that because that's what you came to watch.
Yeah, you pretty much know what you're getting with that type of movie. Same thing with this book too. You're gonna get it's cool. I would totally recommend it if you guys are interested. It's good stuff. So that's really the only book I wanted to talk about this week. I'll have some more stuff that we can chat about next week though.
Okay. So as you guys know, I've been kind of working my way through Harry Potter. So I finished off the Chamber of Secrets, and started up the next one, The Prisoner of Azkaban. They are, I mean, you guys Andy, have you read Harry Potter?
Oh, no, I never read the books.
Okay. They really are, one of the things that really stands out for me as I'm reading these is just how sort of the love of that they had for the books, and they were making those movies. Man, they're almost like shot for shot. It's amazing. Yeah. And so I'm enjoying those and trying to get back to Nemesis Games by James S.A. Corey, getting back into that one, and continuing with Ethera. That was book 6 in Stephen Brust's Vlad Taltos series. And I think book 14 just came out in that series, so I'm going to have to... I got some catching up
some work to do.
Yes. So we'll that's our roundtable. We'll kind of move on, and Andy, we'd like to, loved The Martian, and always interesting to hear, from authors such as yourself, sort of where your influences are, your favorite books, that kind of stuff. And I saw a little bit of your recent, I think, interview with Andy Savage.
Adam Savage, yeah.
Adam Savage, right.
Yep. It was aired recently. It was actually back in, I think, November that we filmed it. But yeah, it's recent. It's recently made public. Yeah.
Right. So it sounded like you grew up in a house with just a ton of books. So you got started early. Yeah.
My father had this huge bookshelf. About 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and a foot deep, just jam-packed with paperbacks, all of them science fiction. And so it was his. I don't think he's ever thrown away a book. And so I grew up just reading those. And so it's weird because I'm a whatever, Gen X, right? Like my dad is a baby boomer. I'm a Gen X. But I grew up reading baby boomer science fiction because I read his collection. So I wasn't really reading this stuff. This is like in the 80s. And I wasn't really reading stuff from the 80s. I was reading stuff from the 50s and 60s. So that's what I grew up reading. My biggest influences or the authors that I really look up to are Heinlein, Asimov, and Clarke. With the proviso that I'm talking about early Heinlein, not dirty old man, sex-freak Heinlein from later on. Some other authors I really like are Larry Niven and Clifford D Senaka, who I kind of like people have seemed to have forgotten about him, but he wrote some really interesting books back in the day. And yep.
And is that and actually I haven't heard of, is that Senaka with a K?
Simak, I think.
Okay.
Clifford D Senaka. I'm sure Google will correct your spelling if you miss anything.
Let's check him out.
The Werewolf Principle was a book of his that I liked a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I've been trying to read some of those older sort of sci-fi books. I read a lot of more of the 80s stuff like the Asimov and Vonnegut and Robert J. Sawyer and guys like that. But I've been trying to go back and read some of the older stuff. It sounds like you've read through the Library of America has they do all these great old collections of some of the best. A lot of the books I think that are on the SF Masterworks list.
Oh, okay.
It's some of them are a little hard to get through. They're definitely of their time, but
yeah. So that's what I always say to anybody when they're saying, what books do you recommend? I've got a big long list of books from the 50s and 60s that I recommend, but I always have to give them the proviso. It's like you got to bear in mind these were written in the 50s and 60s, so it's not the greatest portrayal of women and stuff like that. But you've got to just kind of like live with that. You either need to grade on a curve, or you're just not going to be happy with anything that's more than 10 years old, right?
True.
So you just got to kind of it is kind of funny though when you're reading one of those old books that it's like 70 years old now, and it's And it's like, okay, this is about a spaceship traveling from, star to star, exploring the worlds down there. And at one point, they need to pull 12 Gs of acceleration to get away from a planet that they're going to crash into. And they're worried that the 12 Gs of acceleration on their interstellar spaceship will crack the photographic plates that they've been using to document the planets, which are glass plates, of course, because that's how photography works. So, yeah.
Do you have any books that you find yourself sort of coming back to year after year and rereading?
Sure. I've probably read I, Robot more times than is healthy. I really liked Tunnel in the Sky by Heinlein. I like a good man versus nature kind of thing, and that's what Tunnel in the Sky was. Let's see. Yeah, those are the. I don't often reread books. I liked. Yeah, it's funny. I also like a lot of fantasy novels, and I love the Pratchett novels. I've read all of them many times each. It's just a really entertaining and comedic read. I enjoy those.
Yeah, one of the books that's probably the only book that I do reread every year or so is Good Omens.
Good Omens. Yep.
Fantastic book. So do you? You grew up in a household with paper, and have you started making the move to digital? Do you, especially with all your travel, do you carry an e-reader?
Strangely, no. You'd think I would,
or?
But I still haven't. I still haven't made that transition, mainly because I don't want to buy a dedicated e-reader, and I don't yet have a tablet. So I would rather have just someday I'll get an iPad or some competitor, but whatever. I'll get some tablet at some point, and when I do, then I'll probably switch over to ebooks. In the meantime, I'm still using paper. Just funny because I owe like my whole career to ebooks, right?
Yeah.
Right. So was the at what point did you upload the Martian onto Amazon? Like, was it completely written? Because I know you started the book as I don't know if blog posts is necessarily the right way to say it, but
Right.
Was the book done before you put it up on Amazon? Like as far as it had been on your website in its entirety, or did you kind of pull it down and then finish it and upload it?
No, I had completed it. So I posted it as a serial to my website over the course of 3 years. And then when I was done, I thought, okay, I'm done, moving on to other projects now. But people emailed me and said, like, oh, I like this story, but I hate reading it in a web page. Can you make an e-reader version? So I did that, and I'm like, there you go. You can download the e-reader version here. And other people emailed and said, like, oh, I love that there's an e-reader version, but I'm not very technically savvy, and I don't know how to download an EPUB and put it on my Kindle. I don't know what to do. Can you just post it to Kindle so that I can just tap a button to get it downloaded? So I did that, and Amazon requires you to charge at least $1, or 99 cents. And so I set the price to 99 cents and said, okay, so you can read it for free, or you can download it for free, or you can pay Amazon $1 to put it on your Kindle for you. And more people paid the $1 than downloaded it for free, just because that's the kind of reach Amazon has into the market. Plus, people are willing to pay $1 to avoid technical hurdles.
Yeah, the sideloading thing is just painful enough.
Yeah.
It's easy if you know how to do it, but I can. For a lot of people,
figuring it out from scratch. Yeah.
Sure.
It takes a couple times before you're really comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So if you go ahead,
I was
Jamie.
going to say it works great for you that they'll pay for you not to have to explain that to them, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Worked great. Well, yeah. I mean, I was at the time I wrote it, I was totally content to just give it away for free. It was a hobby. It was never something that I imagined as like for revenue or making money. And there's a cat in the foreground. I will attempt. Now there's a cat chewing on me. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so he's just completely annoying. Ow. Okay. So now I need to move the cat, but he's a little blender. Hang on. Move it. No, yeah, no. Ah. Yeah, there we go.
Special guest appearance.
I'll be bleeding a little bit less now. Yeah, I never thought The Martian would have mainstream appeal. I thought I was writing it just for my core group of readers who are all science nerds like me, it never occurred to me that anyone else would like it.
Well, I think that's a testament to. I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff in there, but the character himself is just funny and likable, and I can't imagine him surviving without. There's the technical skills that you gave him that he needed to survive, but I think without his sense of humor, that probably also would have spelled doom.
Yeah.
I should think.
Well, it would have made for a boring book anyway.
A one-sentence book, yeah.
That's the thing. It was interesting, because Patrick had told us, it was The Martian was one of his favorite books, or was it even your favorite book that you read last year, right?
Yeah.
When we did our year in review show, and so he'd been pitching us nonstop pretty much since we started the show, last year. And I don't read a ton of harder sci-fi. I'm more fantasy or more softer sci-fi some of the time. But I think once I finally saw the interview that you did on the Self-Publishing Podcast, that pushed me over the edge, and I think that night I read The Egg and was like, wow, that was really, like you said, like flash fiction, really cool, and in a way that you approached it. I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance, and read it and loved it. And I think the amount I read night by night increased, and I think I was sick at the time too, so I'd wake up in the middle of the night and then read for a while, and it was great. And I was riveted, and I found the science. I'm not averse to science, but because, like you said, because of how fun, again, he was having almost too much fun, or anyway, you were having too much fun writing him going through these situations, right? It was pretty much how it read, but it made it great. And yeah, no, it was really neat.
Did you watch a lot of Gilligan's Island yourself when preparing for the? Was that part of your research?
70s.
Well, Three's Company.
Well, I grew up watching those shows, right? So I was kind of mocking my own nostalgic childhood. I also, by the way, I like disco. So, yeah, my friends give me shit about it.
So knowing that you read, I guess, exclusively with paper, do you spend much time with audiobooks at all? Because that's another the audio. I haven't finished listening to the audiobook of The Martian yet, but I had just started before. I saw the interview with SPP, and man, he does a fantastic job. He was just, I can't imagine anybody else narrating that book.
Yeah, R.C. Bray, he did a fantastic job. The audiobook is selling really well. It's doing, it's very popular. He won an award for it. Mm-hmm. He won an award for that narration. It's just fantastic. Yes, I listen to audiobooks. One thing is that I'm actually, I'm afraid to fly. I do on very rare occasions. In fact, I'll be flying next week, actually, just to try to combat the fear. But so I tend to take a lot of long drives to get to places, and so I love listening to audiobooks on those drives. I listened to Ready Player One on a really long drive, and that was great. That's my favorite book, probably the last 10 years, is RPO.
It is a great one.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until long after reading it the contest that he had slipped in there.
Yeah.
With the and I think it was only just last year that that he actually gave away the DeLorean. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that he ever went in, and I don't know that he's ever come out publicly and said where that the URL was buried in the text of the book that led you to that contest. But man, and actually I think it was only available in paper copies, so anybody who read the ebook wouldn't have been able to take part in that anyway. So did you know, was it your publisher then that set up the audiobook, or was that something that you set up with RC yourself?
No, actually, the audiobook was done by Podium Publishing, and they were actually the first publishing contract that I had. So they started making the audiobook before Crown, division of Random House, before Random House even came for the print rights. So yeah, so they're a completely separate entity. They're off probably celebrating Canada Day themselves. They're in Ontario. I don't know exactly where. I think somewhere GTA, but I'm not sure. And they're and they do everything. They just secured the rights and said, okay, give us a software copy of the book, and then we'll just start sending you checks.
And then they did.
And then they did, yes. It just gave me a quarterly payment 2 days ago, actually. So it's still going on.
Cool. And I think at this point, it sounds like they've given you the keys to NASA.
Yeah, I get to do a lot of stuff that's really awesome. I was one of the few times I was willing to fly. I flew out to Houston. I live on the West Coast. I live in Northern California, and yeah, that was really awesome. Just 4 days of awesome tours all over NASA. What I thought was going to be just like, okay, get on a tour bus or something like that with everyone else. It's like, no, VIP treatment the whole time. It was awesome. They brought me into the mission control room, like not just the observation area behind it, but in amongst the controllers and the consoles, and they let me remote control a camera on ISS, like an externally mounted camera, and so I'm like pointed at Earth, pointed at the solar cells. Yep, I'm doing it.
That's awesome.
So was there anything through that experience that was going, like your writer's side was going, oh man, I would have written that differently?
A few things, yeah. Well, what's really cool is just all the little details that I learned about mission control. Like, it's stuff you don't even think about. Like, everybody has their own headset, right? Because everybody's wearing a headset with a microphone and like stuff like that. And there's this push-to-talk thing that you do. And then, but of course, it's a pain in the ass to take your headset home and bring it back to work. So there's just a drawer where everybody keeps their headsets. But all the headsets are pretty much identical. So everybody has little bags that they keep their own headset in, right? Because it's like, you don't want to be wearing somebody else's headset and get their ears sweat on you, right? And so so everybody's bags are like really personalized. Like everybody's got these little cloth bags that they bling out and put all like. The person who was showing me around is named Holly Writing. She's a flight director, so she's one of the, so you remember Ed Harris in Apollo 13? Mm-hmm. His role at Mission Control, the guy in charge of the room. So Holly Writing is one of those, one of that level. And when she showed us that, she's just like opening the drawer and she pulls out this little bag that says like Holly, and it's got little holly leaf decorations on it. These little details I thought were awesome.
I just recently read Chris Hadfield's book. I can't remember the exact title, but Lessons from an Astronaut on How to Live on Earth, or it was something like that. But yeah, man, out of that book, I can't believe like the amount of training and everything that just goes into everything they do. It's amazing. And I saw I think you were tweeting about the recent SpaceX explosion. I thought that was interesting where you'd said, they're going to learn more from that than they have from any of the successful launches that they've had.
What is it? Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
Tweet that. There you go.
Yeah.
So is there anything, any upcoming books that you're looking forward to that's in the, from authors that you like coming in the next, couple years, I guess, sometimes?
Well, yeah. Well, so one cool thing about having published a popular book is I get to read things in advance. So one of the things I was really looking forward to was Armada, Ernie Klein's new book, and so I got to read that. I also really liked The Fold by Peter Clines, not to be confused with Ernest Cline. And that may be out now. I think that might be available.
It is. I have the audiobook. I haven't got too far into it, but I really enjoyed his X-Heroes series. I think I've read I think there's 4, and I've read the first 3. But it was a lot of fun. That's another series that I've talked about on the show.
Cool. Yeah, good stuff. And he's a real cool guy too. Like we hang around at Comic-Con, and last year at Comic-Con we hung out for like an hour just talking about Doctor Who because we're both huge Doctor Who fans. Yep. Yeah.
I've watched it since I was a kid, watching it on PBS.
Me too.
So,
who's your favorite Doctor?
As a kid, it was 3. No, as a kid, it was John Pertwee. But then rewatching now, I'm like, man, Tom Baker, because I've watched it all with my wife over the course, or we're somewhere in Tom Baker, and it's like, wow, he's so good. Like
he really is good. But for me, it's Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor, because he was the Doctor when I started watching back as a kid, and so you imprint on your first Doctor,
I think everybody. That's why it's Tom Baker for me too. He's the Doctor I grew up with.
I was watching the PBS reruns first of John Pertwee, so that's how I picked him up. So even though it's before my time.
Yep.
Very cool.
So let me see here. I know where Andy's got kind of a crunched for time here. We want to respect his time. So is there any other sort of books that you would recommend that you can think of that we should run out right away and read?
Just run out and buy.
Beat down the doors.
It's funny when you're talking to people who just love to read, because it's when I was going back and forth with you, which happened very quickly for us, which is I wasn't on the one hand I was thinking, oh, he's a this big published author now, and maybe he's not allowed to do things like this, and then I was like, well, no, I think maybe the publisher likes them to do their sort of marketing, and
yeah, they do. Yeah.
So. Can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and it's interesting because in our sort of email back and forth, it was just like I had just asked it, have you ever read Max Berry's Lexicon, and you went out and bought it, and that's
right.
what.
And now I've read 1% of it. Yeah. I got more work to do on that. Other books I would recommend. I mean, I know that I keep talking about books from long ago, but I love Ian M. Banks's Culture series. The Player of Games is probably my favorite one out of it, but I think it starts with Consider Phoebeus.
Okay.
Either Phoebeus or Phoebeus. Anyway, it all takes place in this setting that is described as post-scarcity. So it's in this very optimistic future where basically machines benevolently do everything for humans and are not evil overlords. They just kind of do whatever humans want. They're like, what's that? You want a castle? Sure, here, have a castle. It's like, and it's really interesting.
Okay. So we'll respect your time here, and we'll start sort of wrap things up. Again, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks.
And to our listeners, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at tbrpodcast@gmail.com, and be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes. And next week, Michael is on vacation, so we're going to have P.T. Hilton coming back to stand in, and the week after that, I believe we've got Mr. Buddy Gott joining us finally. So everyone have a great week. Thanks again, Andy. It was great talking to you.
Thanks for having me, and happy Canada Day to Canadians far and wide and the true patriot north.
Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy to meet everyone.